We wouldn't want to risk you fighting about whether to return at all. Dustin made a strange gesture with his appendage. Haliska didn't mention the third grouping, so I feel obligated to touch. We're aware of how well the Tsaya nomads react to visitors trying to land on Alsh. And that's with other Bissams. They're reclusive in the best of times, so I can't say how they'd take to us. We like our spaceships without an ICBM in the hull. You're smart on that front. Unpredictable, shifty fucks do what they want, when they want, Naltor mumbled. I shot the Selmer general a concerned look. Let's not refer to other Bissams that way around the aliens. Common sense. They're here to speak to all of us. We are. I'll tell you what a very wise leader told our species when we bumbled out to deep space. We're not here to take sides, show favoritism, or meddle in your conflicts. Dustin ducked his head, rubbing his digits against the back of his neck in a self-soothing way. Sort it out among yourselves, but you get one embassy. Evrana is one entity to us because we don't have the diplomatic bandwidth for anything more. Lasmin has been seeking Bissam unity for years, but we can't control the others. Naltor, I don't think we need to decide on any hierarchies right now. I interceded hastily, not wanting to have the aliens believe we couldn't get along. It had been kind of Dustin not to judge us for warring amongst ourselves, but it seemed his kind had moved past that at first contact. We needed to as well. Question on the spacesuits, if you don't mind. Is our environment not breathable for you? Or is it to prevent microorganism contamination? Dustin and Haliska seemed to share a glance beneath their helmets, while Nulia tried to give the appearance of being distracted. My innocuous question, to pivot away from the topic of Bissam acrimony, seemed to have touched a nerve. It was possible the aliens looked drastically different from us and were concealing their anatomy to avoid frightening us. They could have 6 eyes, no skin, or something altogether. They also might not want to tip off their vulnerabilities, if it had to do with a toxin in our world's atmosphere. It was as if the human was a bit nervous. What is he frightened of that will weaponize whatever we learn about his species? If it was just microorganisms, he'd say it. Microbes can't jump between alien species. Biology varies too much from world to world, Nulia answered. It posed no risk to you. The proof is the hundreds of years we've been in contact with each other, though we ran simulations just to be certain. Haliska thumped her tail on the ground. Your atmosphere is breathable to us as well. We all are dependent on oxygen. If we landed in Merlai Huddledom territory on the poles, that would pose an environmental hazard. None of us are suited to that kind of cold, but other than that, no standard environment on Ivrana should be dangerous to us. Dustin stiffened, digits curling with reluctance. It feels early to take off the suits before you've truly gotten to know us. We're asking because we truly wish to get to know you, I prompted. You said yourself that your kind likes relations personal, face to face, yet you've obscured your features. It's complicated. I think that Haliska and Nulia should start. Nulia hesitated before popping off her helmet and sliding out of the suit. Thick, brown fur enveloped her features, along with some sort of spikes attached to her spine. The claws were both slender and lengthy, presenting an additional natural threat. It didn't seem that she could sprint well, given how stout her legs were. There was nothing especially alien about her, with the same quantity and layout of features as standard life on our homeworld. Her brown irises were warm as they stared back at us, reflecting sunlight with cool warmth. Haliska risked a glance at the enraptured soldiers, many of who were as absorbed in this pivotal moment as I was. She shimmied out of her own suit, standing well below the Gojid. The Thafki had a bluish-gray coloration, twitching whiskers atop cream patches on her chin, and webbed feet not dissimilar to our own. That matched with the story of her semi-aquatic origins. The lithe form of her body and tapered shape of her tail were perfect for swimming. Overall, these two creatures were agreeable to the eyes, which meant the problem must be with Dustin. What was the human concerned about? Well, shit. Here goes. The final masked alien. Dustin's hands drifted up to his helmet, and Naltor scrutinized him as he slowly removed the helmet. The creature's rosy lips wobbled with nerves as he trained 2 eyes directly at me. This species had a narrower scope of vision, best suited to depth perception. I did note how large the unpigmented portion of his sclera was, curious. His other features were even more peculiar, with a massive triangular nose that jutted out of the center of his face. His ears were circular, with cartilage folded in swirling patterns that I'd never seen before. There was no fur on his face or seemingly further down his neck, but tangled brown hair sprouted atop his head. He looks the most alien, but not especially frightening. His skin looks soft and delicate. It didn't escape my notice how Haliska and Nulia seemed relieved when none of us reacted poorly to Dustin. The human's eyes fluttered, warming as he saw he wasn't being rebuffed. Granted, most of my wild assumptions about these aliens had been wrong so far, since this hadn't been anything like my imagined first contact scenarios. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had judged his species for something. This trepidation about merely showing his face wasn't natural. "It's nice to meet all of you," I offered, in the most gracious voice I could muster. "Naltor, what would you say to extending these aliens a proper—" General Naltor's beak parted with alarm. "I would say if we organize the necessary preparations and then transport these aliens somewhere we can host festivities, there's no way to stop it from getting out to the public. We wanted you to have the opportunity to announce the news yourselves, but if I may, they're going to find out eventually," Dustin commented. "Forgive my forwardness, but we're not going to play a part in hiding anything from the masses. It goes against our founding principles." Haliska lashed her tail. "There's nothing to fear. People adjust more quickly than you might think to their new reality. You'd be amazed what they can adjust to. Believe me, I would know." "I agree that we should be transparent with the public, sir." I raised my flippers for emphasis, hoping to show the sincerity in my words. "This is something all Bissams have the right to know. I understand you wanted to protect the people at first, but I don't believe our visitors are a threat. I suppose live streaming it on the internet would make the dumb fucks in the other nations less inclined to do anything stupid," Naltor grumbled. "What's that look for, Tassie?" "Ah, right. I shouldn't have said dumb fucks. I meant the nice people." The human flashed his teeth briefly, earning a lingering glance from me. They weren't impressive dental structures, but it was an odd expression to display at this time. I was keen on learning the aliens' nonverbals. While it was helpful that they'd learned our own to avoid any misunderstandings, what appeared to be a threat display by our zoological standards was an example of why we needed to learn theirs.